Hello friends, today we are going to recreate this look. It is going to be a chit chat tutorial because so many of you love the chit chat, but then so many of you love the tutorial. So I tried to combine both of them. And of course I am recording this segment of it after the fact. So there is just a slight little problem and it had to do with my memory. So just forgive me for that, but I think I made up for it in the end. So all right, let's get on with today's tutorial chit chat video, my friends. Okay, so I just realized that for the first part of my video, I did not hit record. So I have my foundation on, I have a concealer on, and I have my blush and bronzer. So what I'm going to do, because I really, I just messed up. I'm getting old, my friends. So I'm just going to walk you through what I did. But I did, my skincare is all on. Everything that I have used will be listed and linked below. So I started out with a primer, and everybody pretty much knows how you apply a primer. So I did go in with the Colleen Rothschild. This is the black tourmaline primer. I really do like this. It does have skincare benefits, but we don't depend on a primer for any skincare benefits. That all comes from our skincare and our sunscreen. So I do love this. I've gone through about 4 bottles of it. It's very hydrating. It just really works for my skin. However, it does not do anything for my pores. And in my T-zone area, I do have an issue with pores. The older we get, the more we will see our pores, and I don't think, they aren't really changing in size. They've always been there. They may get a little clogged up because maybe you're not really, using something that really helps to clean out the pores, which is important. Masking will help you, steaming if you're into steaming, but nothing is really going to change your pore size. It's all about keeping them really clean. But as we age, I think the skin relaxes and it seems that there's a drag to the pores. Doesn't mean that they're changing in size, it just means that they're getting tired just like everything else on our body. So I have a lot of pore primers that I like, right from the drugstore all the way up. And I saw someone going crazy about this on Instagram, and I thought, wow, that looks really familiar. And I went through my primers, and I do have it, and I was using it for a while, but because I'm always trying to find better things for my aging skin and your aging skin, and I'm also always trying to find a price point that can work for everyone, which is sometimes impossible, but I do try. And this one is called One Size Secure the Blur. And what I do is I just take a small amount of it and I press it in and just slide and press in the T-zone area because that is where I need it. So from here all the way through here, down even to here, over my lip and all around my chin is where I need a pore primer. Now, if you're someone who sees your pores everywhere, because the texture of your skin is different from mine, you will use this all over. But try not to just rub it in like this. Really press and slide. Press, 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 because you want to fill them. Allow me to take a drink, because I've been talking for probably an hour on a video that was not turned on. Yes, most annoying, my friends. Okay, so next step was foundation, and you've all seen me apply my foundation, but I will go through it and how I applied this one. It is the Forever Glow from Dior, and I am 2.5 neutral. Love this foundation. As I age, I'm always going after the glow. However, I do need to set my makeup with a light dusting of powder because it would not survive in this humidity. Gripping primers do help with that, so if you're someone who lives in a climate like me, gripping primers do help. So I went in with what is probably my most favorite foundation brush. Now, I do love the application of a sponge. I think you can get a versatility with the sponge. If you put the foundation in your hand, dab it on a little bit, and then you have a damp beauty blender that you are pouncing, You can shear it out. It all depends on how you move that beauty blender. You can also build up with a sponge. So you can put a very light application on, and then you can go back in with a second, and you can just pounce it on. And some people like to buff in a circular motion. You have seen me use sponges for years. I can achieve any look with a sponge, but a lot of people prefer a brush. And I will say that this brush from BK Beauty 101, it's my most favorite foundation brush. Now they do have another one that is very, very large, and it is flat, where this one is more, has an angle to it. This is dense, this is dense. This is very soft, this is very soft. I like to pounce this all over first. And this also, how much you put on, you can put it on your face, your foundation, and then you can put some on your hand. Work it into the brush thoroughly, because this is a dense brush, but if you have it on all of the fibers, you will get an even application with this brush. So you want to pounce, and then if that's a little bit too much for you, you can always thin it out by doing a sweeping motion. I always do a sweeping motion down, because if you have facial hair, which I do not because I remove it with a little razor, and it does not grow back darker for me. The only thing that grows back darker are those whiskers that come with age. That has nothing to do with removing the hairs. Anyway, so I do a nice sweeping motion down to keep all the hair, and that will thin out a thick application for me. You can also buff. This brush is easier to buff with than this one. This one is angled, but this is my most favorite. Now this one here, you can go ahead and just buff it all in. And some people think, well, I'm going to remove my sunscreen if I do that. I don't really know how, and the only way that is going to happen is if you apply your sunscreen and go right in with your foundation. I don't. I apply my sunscreen, and maybe 15, 20 minutes later, I will apply my foundation over it. So I don't fear removing my sunscreen or moving it around, okay? Sometimes I think things just get made up. I don't know. But anyway, it's only my opinion, and we all have one. But either one of these brushes, it just depends, you know. I mean, you can sweep with this one, but I just think because of the way this one is, you know, built, it's just easier to work with. So that was the foundation application, and then I went in with my powder. And the powder, now I did not recently buy this. I purchased this a long time ago, but I left it in Buffalo. Brand new box of it. I didn't even know I had this, and this is ridiculous in price, but I really do love it. So I did use it today because I'm not going to waste her. I have several powders I love: Charlotte Tilbury, Laura Mercier, Elf Halo I love. There are quite a few powders that I do love. So application of powder. You'll see a lot of young girls on YouTube or Instagram using these powder puffs. It is a beautiful way to apply the powder. The trick to this is to make sure that you have an even coating on it and make sure that there are no gaps, because you want your powder to go on smoothly. With that being said, being an aging woman, these are not really our best friends. So I always go in with a powder brush. I do have a couple of powder brushes that I like to work with, but the BK Beauty is a very well-made brush. It's affordable, and for powder application, it really is perfect. It's a very soft brush with very loose bristles, which is very important for powder application. It's large, so you don't have to mess around. So what I do is I go into the powder. I usually put it in the lid, and I will work it into the brush almost with a pouncing, flick. And I really work it into all of the bristles, and then I will tap, and I will pounce it onto the nose area, the T-zone area, because that is where I want most of my powder, because if I'm going to have any issues, it is going to be in the T-zone area. But because I want all of the other powder products that I'm using to go on with a smoother application, no skipping, no blotching, I'm going to lightly pounce and then lightly just buff. Hold your brush down and buff. It gives you less pressure. and buff it in so that you're removing most of the powder, but you're setting down that base so that all of your other products can go on smoothly. Next, I moved in with the Pat McGrath bronzer. I bought this bronzer during the Sephora sale, and I thought I would go ahead and use it because I've never used it in a tutorial. And Pat McGrath is a beautiful line. I love some of her products. Her blush, beautiful. This here I did apply, and it goes on beautifully. Now, for my bronzer, this is a bronzing brush, which is fine. If you're experienced, this brush is going to work for you. But say you're not so experienced in applying your bronzer or makeup, and you just have a hard time, it just takes up too much of your face and you feel like you have too much bronzer on. It's the size of the brush. It's not necessarily the way the brush was made. It's the size of the brush. It has something to do with your experience and how you can handle the brush in your hand. It really is. So what I do is I go in with this 107 from BK Beauty, and that is the shape of it. Again, it's a soft brush. It's not dense. You don't want something that's so dense that's just going to pack it on. You want something that will move it around, but also if I press down on this, it's not taking up my whole face. You can see it's still staying where I want the bronzer. So I go in and I fill the brush up with bronzer, and I'm just going to lightly touch it into the mirror because I want to work it in evenly. And then I will go ahead and just apply it. Now avoid the temple area, because the temple area, you don't want darkness on that area because it's just going to push it in even further. And as we age, we lose volume here. You can see that mine kind of go in. So there are things we can do, my friends, to give the illusion of having a fuller temple. One would be putting a much lighter concealer on, because that lightness is going to bring it out. It's going to help fill that area out. It's just an illusion. It's not really doing it. It's an illusion. But if you take your bronzer and you place it there, you're closing that all off. So you want to make sure that your bronzer is just on the cheek area. But notice, even if I press this brush, it's not going in the contour area. It's staying where I want my bronzer. I can use it above. Now, if you have white hair like me, watch out for your hairline. You don't want it being orange, and that can happen, my friends. So that, and again, you can sharpen up your jawline by just moving it. Now here is where I go with strokes. When I'm applying my cheeks, I do this, and then I go in with my powder brush, and I will just lightly feather the edges so that I have a smooth transition to my bronzer and my foundation. So next I'm going in with the Pat McGrath blush. These blushes, to me, are some of the best on the market. They are very pigmented, so you do have to learn how to use them. And I'm going to show you the brush that I use to apply. And this is the 113 from BK Beauty. I choose it because it's smaller. It's not super dense, but it doesn't have a lot of play. Because when I'm applying blush, I want perfection for placement. I want it exactly where I want it. I don't want the brush dragging it down. And sometimes a blush brush can be a little bit big. Again, for an inexperienced person, learning or finding the perfect brushes really will make a difference for you. So with a Pat McGrath brush, you don't go in like this and just pick up. Look at all that blush. You will definitely be auditioning for the circus. It's a very, very pigmented blush. I'm wiping it all off so you can see that I'm going to just tap my hand. I'm holding it way down here. I'm just going to tap, pick up some blush all the way around, and that's what it looks like. Now I'm going to really work it into the fibers of that brush. And it's always better to apply a little, go back in, apply a little more, versus putting way too much on, putting it on and saying, oh my goodness, I have too much on. And I just take this brush, look at the placement, perfect, exactly where I want it. And I'm going just on my cheekbone now. I feel for me If you want to do this, you go right ahead, because I'm not here to set rules. I'm just here to show you how I work with my face and give you some tips. Being that I was a professional makeup artist for many, many, many years, and I wish I could have become a very famous makeup artist, but I guess this will have to do. But getting back to what I was saying, a lot of people are putting blush here. I don't necessarily think that's a good look for us aging women. But again, if that's what you want to do, you go right ahead. But it's not going to happen for me, my friends. It's just not. I think it doesn't look good for me. All right, so I'm just going to show you again real quick. I'm just tapping that blush on the highest point of my cheek. Now, I don't like to come on to the apple of my cheek, you know, when you smile and you do this. But if that's a look you like, you go right ahead. My face isn't built to be built up that way. I prefer to lift versus, you know, give fullness here. I prefer to lift my face up. And we achieve that with the way we apply things. So I just go ahead and apply the color. I start right about here. And if I were to smile, it would have me starting here. So apply it both ways. And then look at yourself, take a picture, and then look at those pictures. Do you look better in one? Does your face look more lifted with one? Or do you like the fullness in the cheeks? It's all up to you. So I just take a powder brush, and I go ahead and I just buff over that lightly to soften any harsh edges that there might be. Okay, so I think this is where I realized, well, Tammy, you don't have the camera on, so how are they seeing this tutorial? Okay, I can't tell you how many times I've done that. All right, so next step, we are going to go in with the Hourglass, and this is the Ambient Lighting Infinity Powder. And I'm going to go in with a Rephr 20 fan brush. Now, fan brush is perfect for this because you want a light airiness to this powder, because you don't want to pack more powder on. And this is just because it has a very subtle glow. So I'm going to sweep down with the fan brush and collect. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sweep the edge. And notice I'm taking this up into the temple area. And I'm just buffing it onto the top of the cheek. Okay, so we're just taking it. And notice I'm angling up, so it's this way, okay? And I'm just putting it on the temple to help bring that out just slightly. Gonna do the same thing on the other side. And I'm just sweeping. It's a beautiful powder, it's subtle, there's no glitter to it. And you can go right over your eyebrows with this. Do this before you fill in your eyebrows. And then just do a beautiful sweeping when you're done. A nice sweeping. And then you can even bring it out more by giving it a quick buff with your powder brush. And it will just bring out the glow. It's beautiful. All right, so now we are going to get on with our tutorial now that we have figured out. I jumped over a step, my friends. Concealers. Osmosis has a new concealer. Freeze Co Beauty has them on their site. And this is the Flawless Concealer from Osmosis. And I went in with the color Buff. The color selection is not great for me, but I did want to share with you, this is the color. Let me just buff it down for you to see. This is the color that I did use, and I applied it with this smaller brush from BK Beauty, the 109. It's like a cat's paw. And what I did is I went and I loaded the brush up, and then I just went underneath my eye and all the way up through the temple. And I also did my eyelid, and then I went over with all of that. This is where I used the powder puff. When you apply onto the puff, make sure that the whole puff is covered with powder. It doesn't have to be packed with tons of it, but you want to make sure that you have powder everywhere. And then I just went in and I patted it on just to see how this works. And then I did the brow bone and my eyelid. And it actually does look very nice. Okay, now I'm going to go in and do my brows, and I'm going to use the soft brown from Anastasia. I've tried so many taupes. They look green on my skin. I've tried the ones for gray hair. They just look green. So I'm going to go ahead and just stick with the one that I know works. I can use either caramel. It's a little reddish for me right now. But I'm going to use soft brown. And I had stopped using pencils because I had my brows really looking good and forgot the brow serum when I went to Buffalo and just didn't use it anymore. And you can see I have holes all over the place now. So many people will ask, well, once you get them to grow in, do you have to continue to use it? Yes, you do. So I'm just going to go ahead and lightly fill the brow. And this is just a matter of me stroking just very lightly. I don't like really dark brows. And I wish I had thick brows, but this is what I got after doing my Twiggy look through my teens. You know, when you do your Twiggy look, it sometimes, you know, damages and then they don't grow anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and give myself an eyebrow here. And it won't be perfect. I'm not great at eyebrows. And I have burly, wiry eyebrows. But you can see just by doing that, it looks much better. Now the trick to this is you don't want to fill this in super dark here. You want this to be the lightest part of your brow and this to be warmer. And for me, I'm very thin here, so I just draw a straight line to the arch and fill that in. And if you look at my brows, you can see the difference. So it is needed, my friends. Your brows are needed, especially if you have a lot of white brows like me. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Now this one here is much thinner, so I have to try to be like a magician here and really do some magic on this brow. And it's very thin through here. I have a hole right here. And, you know, the eyebrows they just do not play nice with age, do they? And once I get that done, I'll just go ahead and thicken it up. I'm not good with my brows. I'm not. But I do the best I can, and that's as good as it's going to get. And then what I do is I go in with and this was the Anastasia pencil, I go in with the Anastasia Tinted Brow Gel. This will be your best friend if you are like me and absolutely despise your white brows. I despise them. This will also help to groom them and keep them in place. I also have the Anastasia Brow Gel, but it doesn't work as well when my brows are thin. It kind of looks weird. So I just go back and forth, and this is just to really move those white hairs around and cover them up with the tinted gel. And then I just go in and I give them a nice sweep, and I try to stay in an upward motion. And sometimes you get little extra areas, like I'm getting my hair. And see, I hit my hair with I think I hit it with the bronzer, so it's, you know, got a little bit of color here, discoloration. You do have to really be careful. So I'm going to do the same thing on this brow. Okay, so there are the brows. Now we are going to move in with the eyes. I haven't used this palette in a long time because I don't think you can get it. But there are several palettes out there that have very similar colors to them. And this is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes. It's just beautiful, and it has really pretty colors in it. And today I wanted to stay with my neutral look, things I used to wear. And this top, can we talk about the color of this top? It is just so gorgeous. It will be linked below. It is a beautiful top, beautiful sleeves on it. It has the eyelet going on. It has buttons all the way. It can be worn tucked in or out. It comes right about top of the thigh length. It's just really, really a pretty, pretty blouse. I bought it in black as well. All right, so I'm going to go in with a Rephr #1, and first I'm just going to prime the whole eye with the first color in the palette here. This is a little more yellow than I wanted, but I just really want to use this palette. So I'm just going to even it all up because I have discoloration on the eyes. So I just want to make the canvas a little more even, and I'm just sweeping. I'm using a Rephr number 1 brush, which is my most favorite Rephr brush. They have a new holiday brush that's out. I'll share it in, I'm either going to do a new things video. I have my favorites video, which you already saw. It might have ended up in there because it's a beautiful brush. All right, so the canvas of the lid is pretty even. So anything I put on it is just going to look beautiful. All right, so I am going to go ahead in with a 15, and I think I'm going to go into this one first, just to do some contouring first. I'm just going to take this and go into the crease area, and I'm sweeping it all the way to the inner eye because it's such a neutral shade. So you're going for a neutral shade that really doesn't get dark on its own. It's just so that you can really, it's your transition color. It's really going to just allow you to build on your whole eye. Plus it also, it doesn't have so much color that it actually creates a lift in my eye. And you just apply that to the level that you want. I want to really build up this outer edge. So I'm going in circular motions and I'm lifting it up through the brow, and then I come back into the crease and it's just feathering lightly above the crease now when I get closer to the inner eye. And that's what it looks like. So I'm going to go in and put a little bit more on. Okay, so that is just starting the process of a lift to my eyes and a little bit of depth, and it also will allow any color that I put on now to kind of blend. There's a beautiful transition that will happen. So now I'm going to go in with the Rephr number 13, and I'm going to pick up this color here. And I am going to just really build it into my crease because it has a little more color than the second color that I applied. And I'm just building the crease up. And I want to lift it just slightly to lift the eye. And then you take the edge of the brush and just go along the upper part to blend that down. And you can bring this color down on the lid as far as you want, which I'll do right now because I do like this color. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring it down onto the lid, leaving the lash line exposed. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with a tighter brush. This is the number 2, and I'm going to pick up this brown here, and it is kind of a red brown, one of my most favorite colors. And this one here I'm going to apply to the edge. And I'm bringing it 3/4 of the way, and then I'm really just going along the lash line with it. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of it and just really build that crease. Go for a little glam today. And then you're going to take a fluffier brush. I'll take the 15 again. I have a clean one. And just working with the tips of that brush, just softening and sweeping up. And that's what it looks like. So I'll go ahead and do the other eye. So I'm going to go back into this color. And I want to lay it down in this part. I'm laying it right above the dark color I just used on the lash line. And then I'm going in with an even smaller brush, 29, and I'm going to pick up the darkest color here. And I'm going to make sure it's on the tip of this brush. And I'm going to tap it onto the mirror so that I don't get any fallout with this. And I'm going close to the lash line. And same thing on the other side. Pretty much the look of the eyes, so I'm just going to go in with a clean brush and give a sweep just to make sure that I don't have a harsh line going from the brow to the color of the eyeshadow. And underneath the eye, I'm going in with the number 2, and I'm going to pick up this color here, and I'm going to smudge it underneath the eye and give it a smoldering look. Sweeping up. Same thing here. Go in with an oldie but a goodie. This is Teddy from MAC. And I am going to try to do this. Usually I have to go in the mirror, but I want to tight line. And tight lining means you're going on that wet part underneath your lashes, but you're staying close to the lash line. And I'm going to go right into the corner. And that's the difference between the eyes. Same thing on this side. Okay, so that's tight lining. Now, if you wanted to, I don't normally do this, but we will for today. You can go ahead and take the Teddy and go right along your lash line. I would consider this ultra glam. Go ahead and brush the lower lashes, and you can see without mascara it completely changes the look of my eyes. Actually, it intensifies the brown. It makes them look very dark brown. Let me go and curl my eyelashes. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have curled my pathetic eyelashes, so I'm going to go in with the Beyond mascara from City Beauty. I like this mascara. I have quite a few mascaras that I like, and I'm going to first just push it through the lash line. Pay attention to my eyelashes, because in a couple of months you'll be thinking, oh my goodness, her eyelashes, what is she using? It will be Revitalash. It is the only thing that has ever worked for me, because right now they are pathetic. That's one coat of this mascara. It's a pretty good mascara. The brush it's an okay brush, but it really does help to intensify them when they're in this sad state that they're in. But I can use the Bobbi Brown Smoky Eye Mascara. The Pat McGrath Mascara is really good. That's one of my faves. This one actually here is a favorite of mine. I do like this one a lot. And I always have a tube of it, so I do like it. They run good sales too. Okay, so one coat of mascara, that's all she get. All right, for lips, I am going in with an NYX, and this is the Kitten Heels. I think the Kitten Heels work the best with the lipstick that unfortunately I'm not going to be able to link. You're going to have to go to stores to look for it. I tried several sites to try to find it, and I couldn't, but I recently bought this, so I know it exists, but I don't know why it's not online anywhere, but it's not. So Kitten Heels, Okay, so there's the liner. I kind of smudge it out. You can fill it in a little bit more. You can do whatever you want. Now this lip, I love. And it is 254 by L'Oreal, and it is called Ever Bloom. It's beautiful. It is gorgeous, but I could not find it online. I want to get a few more tubes. It's just beautiful. I absolutely love it. Okay, so that pretty much is my face, but as I look at it, I think my eyes are a little off balance from my lips and my cheeks. So I'm going to go in with the Pat McGrath blush. And again, this is the color. And I am going to take the blush brush, tap it in lightly, and I'm going to really work it in. Got to be careful here, you don't want too much. And I am just going to sweep a little bit of this color on, and you'll see it immediately marries everything. So I'll do the same thing on the other side, picking up a little bit, really working it in, and just sweeping the outer upper brow from the crease up. And it just brings it all together. All right, so I'm going to take my hair out and I will be right back. All right, so I am back with the finished look. I absolutely love this lipstick. And I feel this whole color palette is just fabulous, my friends. So I hope that during this tutorial chit chat, you picked up a couple of tips. Everything that I talked about, used, will be listed and linked below. Just hit show more and everything opens up for you. I do have codes for some of the things that I use, so always check next to it. It will say Tammy 10, Tammy 15, Tammy 20. That's the code you will use at checkout to save yourself a little bit of money. All right, my friends, so I hope you enjoyed this, and if you haven't already subscribed, I would love to have you as an ageless beauty, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Right next to it is the bell. It notifies you all the videos that I'm putting up. Until the next time, my friends, go out in the world, be lovable, and remember, it is okay to love your age. I love you all. Bisous.